What if everything you thought you knew about death was only the beginning? Imagine your heart stops. The room fades. The world as you know it disappears. But you're still there, awake, conscious, floating above your body, watching everything unfold. You hear the panic of doctors, the cries of loved ones, but you feel nothing but peace. Then a light, warm, unimaginably beautiful, and a presence, gentle, loving, familiar, welcomes you home. No fear, no pain, just overwhelming love. This isn't fantasy, it's the story told by thousands who've come back from the brink, and no one has listened to those stories more closely than Dr. Raymond Moody. In the early 1970s, Dr. Moody, a young physician and philosopher, encountered something that changed the course of his life forever. A patient described dying, leaving her body, moving through a tunnel, and being greeted by a glowing being of light. She spoke of a review of her life, not through judgment, but through understanding. It defied logic. It didn't fit any textbook. But she wasn't delusional. She was clear, calm, transformed. At first, Dr. Moody was skeptical, curious but cautious. Then it happened again, and again, and again. Different patients, different hospitals, but the same story told in different voices, repeated over and over. So he began to investigate quietly, methodically. He interviewed hundreds, eventually over 1,000 people who had died and returned. The result, a pattern emerged, unmistakable, unshakable. From all walks of life, young, old, religious, atheist, American, Indian, African, rich, poor, their experiences shared a striking consistency. People described the moment of death not as an end, but as an awakening. They spoke of a sudden detachment from the physical body, often watching medical teams trying to revive them from above. They heard conversations in distant rooms. They described tools, words, even events later verified to be accurate, though they were clinically dead. Then came the tunnel, dark, silent, and then a light. But this wasn't any ordinary light. It wasn't blinding, it was welcoming. It radiated a warmth that words fail to express. And from that light came a presence. Some called it an angel. Some believed it was God. Others said it was a guide or even a loved one long past. But the feeling was always the same, absolute, unconditional love. There was no judgment, no punishment, only understanding, clarity, a feeling that every moment of life had meaning, especially the small ones. Then came the life review. This wasn't just memory. It wasn't like watching a movie of your life. It was reliving it moment by moment, but through the eyes and feelings of those you affected. You didn't just remember a time you raised your voice in anger. You felt the sting of those words as the other person felt them. You didn't just see a time you helped someone in pain. You felt their relief, their gratitude. Every interaction echoed, every choice mattered. It was never about guilt. It was about awareness, about learning, about understanding the impact of your existence. Many said it was the most profound moment of their entire lives after death. And then, a choice. Some were told they had to return, others were asked. Some begged to stay, but were told their time was not yet over, and so they came back, changed, forever. Dr. Moody noticed something extraordinary about these people. They no longer feared death, not because they wanted to die, but because they had seen that death is not the end. They lived differently, more gently, more intentionally. They forgave more. They loved deeper. Many left high-powered jobs to work in service of others, becoming nurses, counselors, hospice workers. They had touched something eternal, and they couldn't go back to life as it was. Dr. Moody once said, "What surprised me wasn't what they experienced. It was how deeply it changed them." And for someone trained in science and logic, this was unsettling, because he couldn't explain it away. These weren't hallucinations. They didn't resemble dreams. They were vivid, structured, clear, and the experiencers were often embarrassed to speak of them, afraid of ridicule. They weren't trying to make money. They didn't want attention. They just wanted to understand what had happened. So what does this mean? What can over 1,000 near-death experiences teach us not just about death, but about life? According to Dr. Moody, everything. Because if even one of these accounts is true, just one, then our entire understanding of death is incomplete. And if death is not the end, then what are we really here for? That question is what kept Dr. Moody searching. And in the stories he heard, he began to find something profound, not proof, but patterns, not dogma, but hope. And what he discovered may change the way you see your own life forever. The stories Dr. Moody collected revealed something else, something deeply human and healing. Many who returned spoke not only of light and love, but of a profound sense of purpose, a calling to live life differently, to cherish time, relationships, and moments most people take for granted. They said the near-death experience wasn't just about glimpsing what comes after, it was about awakening to the life they still had. One woman, a schoolteacher, described how she came back knowing she needed to forgive her estranged brother. Another man, a businessman, realized that his endless chase for wealth had left him lonely and hollow. They all told Dr. Moody the same thing: death gave me life. The idea that a brush with death could be a catalyst for transformation touched a nerve. It struck a chord with those in their 50s, 60s, and beyond, an age when questions of meaning, legacy, and what comes next become impossible to ignore. For many, the fear of dying can feel like a shadow lurking just behind the moments of joy. The uncertainty, the what-ifs, the will, it hurt, and what happens after. But Dr. Moody's research offered a different kind of comfort, a whisper of hope that the story of you doesn't end here. And it's not just hope in a spiritual sense. It's a practical message for how to live better now, because the near-death experience, as Dr. Moody saw it, offers us a mirror. It reflects back what matters most: connection, love, kindness, forgiveness. He noticed that nearly everyone who returned with these experiences described how deeply they valued relationships, not things, not status. They spoke of reconnecting with family, healing old wounds, making peace. For those over 50, many of whom have witnessed loss, hardship, or regret, this message hits home with extraordinary clarity. Some skeptics argue that near-death experiences are simply neurological events, brain chemistry, triggered during trauma. But Dr. Moody found that the consistency of these stories across cultures and decades defies simple explanation. And the profound emotional impact on those who survive them is undeniable. Many who undergo these experiences report a shift in values so radical it reshapes their remaining years. They become more compassionate, less judgmental. They express gratitude for every breath, every smile, every small moment. One man who nearly died in a car accident told Dr. Moody, "I realized that love is the only thing that really lasts. It's the only thing that truly matters." And that realization, sparked in the final moments of life or just beyond, became a guiding light. For people in their later years, this message can feel like a balm to the soul. It encourages embracing the present instead of fearing the inevitable. It teaches that the meaning of life is found in the quality of our connections, not in our achievements or possessions. Dr. Moody also learned that many who experienced these near-death journeys felt a profound peace, a peace that often exceeded anything they had ever known. It was a calm so deep it erased anxiety about death completely. Imagine facing your final days with that kind of calm, knowing, not just hoping, that death is a transition, not an end. This isn't about religion or doctrine, it's about personal experience. And for thousands, that experience is transforming fear into acceptance, darkness into light. But Dr. Moody warns us not to romanticize the experience. Not everyone who has a near-death experience describes it as purely blissful. Some face moments of confronting regrets, fears, or painful memories during their life review. Some come back shaken, struggling to make sense of what they saw. Yet even those who find it difficult say it fundamentally changed how they live. And so these stories raise a deeper question. What if we could live our lives now with the knowledge that death is not the final curtain? What if we carried with us the wisdom of those who have glimpsed what lies beyond? Would we be kinder, more forgiving, more present? Dr. Moody believes the answer is yes. He suggests that the near-death experience is a message from the threshold, a call to awaken while we still have time. For older adults facing their own mortality, this message can be transformative. It invites us to reconsider what legacy means. Not the legacy of money or fame, but the legacy of love, compassion, and understanding. And it teaches us that every moment matters, that each act of kindness echoes beyond what we can see. As Dr. Moody once said, these experiences remind us that life is a gift, a precious, fragile gift, and death is just the doorway to something beyond. For those of us watching, listening, wondering, what does this mean for you? How can these stories of near-death hope reshape your journey, your fears, your relationships? It begins by opening your heart to the possibility. Not blind faith, but curiosity. The same curiosity that drove Dr. Moody to listen to hundreds of voices sharing the unexplainable. And in opening your heart, you may find a peace that transforms your final chapters. A peace that is not dependent on circumstances, but on the deep understanding that life and love never truly end. So if you or someone you love is wrestling with the mystery of death, if fear or uncertainty feels like a heavy weight, remember the thousands who have passed through the veil and returned their stories echoing the same truth. Death is not the end, it's a passage. And love is eternal. As we reflect on Dr. Raymond Moody's incredible journey and the thousands of near-death experiences he documented, one thing becomes clear: life after death is not just a distant mystery, but a profound source of hope and comfort. It invites us all, especially those of us who have lived many years, to face our final days with courage, peace, and a deeper appreciation for the love and connections that truly define our existence. The lessons from these stories remind us to live fully now, to forgive, to cherish, and to embrace the unknown with an open heart. Because in the end, it's not the years we count, but the love we give and receive that shapes our eternal journey. If this message touched you, or if you're curious to learn more about life's deepest mysteries, please join our community. Subscribe to the channel for more stories that inspire, heal, and invite us to explore what lies beyond. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for opening your heart. Until next time, may peace and love guide your path.